Hey everyone, Chickens Go Block here. Um, so recently I decided to try to implement 8 directional movement in my game that I'm working on, and I just figured I'd make this video to kind of give you an update on that. I kind of wanted to implement 8 directional movement just aside from the obvious reasons, such as, giving the player more freedom of movement and improving the gameplay experience. More specifically, I know that I'm going to be trying to implement some type of a targeting system, and having the 8 directional movement I think will be really helpful in making that a look and feel better. So that was one of the major reasons for implementing 8 directional movement. And honestly, it makes the game feel a lot better, in my opinion, when you have those extra directions that the player can actually move in with their animations. So just to give you some context on what exactly 8 directional movement is, to summarize it, really it's just the ability for the player to move in more than just the 4 cardinal directions that are typical for top-down games, such as the one I'm working on. So normally you could move in like directions like east, south, west, and north, right? When you implement 8 directional movement, the player then can also move in directions such as northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest. So in terms of the implementation and how it was done, I can give a quick overview here. Essentially, I have an animator for my player. Actually, I have 2, but they're essentially the same, so we can just go over one. I have an animator. Originally, if you see down here, I have this long list of animations now for the player's walking state. And before it was essentially, a walk left, walk down, walk right, walk up. So there was those four animation states that the player could be in. And since I'm adding 4 more, it's pretty simple. You just have to add the 4 new states that can be implemented in the animator. And obviously, if you have, if you're set up with some type of Boolean values that are determining where the animator goes to, then you'll have to create the 4 new directions that the player can go in as well. So that's what I did here. And once you have those set up, again, it depends on how you're implementing your animator. It could be different, but the idea is the same. You'll want to add the 4 animations to your animator and then make the logic work so that it goes to the different animators when the player isn't moving in those directions. So the animator is fairly straightforward in how you should set it up. And then if we look over here, you can see I got some animations in here. I will go to the player's body here and essentially had to add the 4 animations, obviously, in the directions that he's going to be walking in. Some of the issues with doing that was the player actually, it's not just movement that I had to account for, because the player is able to use tools. So he's able to swing swords, use a hoe or like an axe, and he can use them in any of the directions he's facing, right? So whereas before I had animations set up for each of the tools to go in the 4 directions, since now I'm implementing letting the player be able to go in 8 directions, I had to create 4 new animations for each of the tools. So those started to stack up where I had a lot of so like I have all these animations for the axe, all these for the hoe, all these for the pickaxe, and as I add more and more tools, it's just going to get worse and worse. So something to be aware of if you're doing animations, anything remotely like this, is that your animations could multiply by a factor of 4. I have an idea about how I might fix that, but if that ends up being successful, then I might share it in another video later. I don't know. We'll see how it works. But for now, I just had to bite the bullet and create all those different animations for those tools. let's see. So yeah, the animator's set up fairly straightforward. Just have the logic go to the new animations that you create. And then if I pull up Visual Studio here, let's just give you an idea of what the code logic is like. As far as the implementation for the script, basically I have a movement script here that is attached to the player. It controls the player's movements, obviously. So I'm using Unity's new input system. So I'm getting the input from whatever the input action is, and that's being set, and then I can determine based on that the x direction. So if the x direction is greater than 0.7, I know the player is wanting to move in the x direction, or to the right, basically. And then I can do the same with the y. So in this case, I'm checking both the y and the x. If both of those are greater than 0.7, then I know that the player is actually wanting to move in the diagonal upright direction. So that's why I call this set player direction function, which is just going to set use this enum that I created, and it's in the direction of upright. So if we look at that, go to the set player direction, and you can see here it's just a function, takes in a direction, and we assign the player's direction to that, and then call this switch statement here, and this will essentially switch on the new player direction that is passed in. And so this could either be, up left. These are all the different enum values that are in there. So this is all the directions that the player could be in. So up left here, if that's what's passed in, then I'm just setting all these Boolean values to either false or the one that is actually supposed to be true. So in this case, since the player is wanting to move up left, then that is the Boolean value that would be set. And then that's just what I do for all these different cases. And then once these Boolean values are set here, those get sent to this player animation parameter control script, which is on the player's animator, and it's calling this set animation parameters function. Pretty much is in an update loop. So every frame it's updating the player's animation parameters, and just setting all of the animation Boolean values that are passed in. As you can see, we got a direction left, direction right, direction up, diagonal, all the diagonal ones. So those are all being set, and then the animator reacts appropriately. So if direction diagonal left is being passed as true, then the animator is getting that Boolean value actually set. So if we go back to Unity and go to the animator, you can see that what would be getting this down left here, if that was the one being passed in as true, that would end up getting passed in, and that would be the animation that gets played, this one right here. So, and then that obviously plays the appropriate animation. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it for that. So again, it wasn't extremely difficult to implement. I'd just say it's a bit tedious if you have a significant amount of animations that are related to your player, because you may end up having to create 4 times the number of animations if you want the player to be able to do those animations in those new directions. So just something to keep in mind if you're going to be implementing it. But I do like how it turned out. I think it looks better. So I'm going to try to keep it. Hopefully I can get some of this, the animation problems that I'm having under control, and we'll see how that works. And that's pretty much it. Let me know what you think. Appreciate everyone who's watching the videos. Let me know what you think. Leave a like if you liked it. And I'll probably do another video in the next 2 weeks or so. So, till next time. Thank you.